Greetings from Cybertron. This is SoundJack here with SoundJack Rambles 2. Today we are talking about something non-Transformers. We just came back from seeing the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie, and be very warned as this will be a very spoiler-heavy review and discussion of this movie.
She meant nothing. She meant absolutely nothing. She meant nothing. Like, the whole entire movie, like, we were like, hello. We're like, oh my gosh, this beautiful girl, and they're going to kiss, and they're going to be on the dance floor, and it's all going to be okay. She meant nothing. And then at the very end, the girl who was just like, you know, I'm sassy, and I don't care about the world, except for I do care about the world. I just don't care about you people in it. I care about the actual world, like, you know. And she's married Jane. Just like fucking amazing, which is like great. So this isn't a complaint. This is just like she was a plot device. That was it. She wasn't any sort of like permanent romantic connection of any sort. She was a plot device for Spider-Man to get from one place to the other. And in terms of plot, that was just like I didn't expect that. I didn't read any forums or anything that expected that. I think that's fucking crazy. So like I guess we should start at like beginning of the movie.
I will say he has blurted out at least 5 times.
She meant nothing!
6.
She meant like, nothing romantic. She meant like plenty to the movie. And I'm not saying this is like, they used a woman or like they did it wrong or it was bad. It was fantastic. It was incredible. And then they removed her from the future, if possibility, and inserted Mary Jane into the mix. I've never even heard of a Liz from the comics.
Me neither. I was going to ask.
There probably is. Some guys watch it like noobs. Like, you know, she's been in like 10 different issues, though. But
don't worry,
think,
we are noobs.
Yeah, we really are. But I think that constantly, I think that introduction and that delay in really introducing something real and permanent. We always saw what happened to frickin' Stacy, Emma Stone. We all saw what happened, you know, the backbreaking work there. But I or neck snapping, would that be more accurate? No.
I will say I never saw that one.
Oh, she dies.
But I know what happens. I just never saw it.
Speaking of spoilers.
Spoilers for more than one thing in here, but that's my fault.
Oh gosh.
When was that movie come out?
Meat, it would kill you if you ate it. The what?
When did that movie come out?
2012, maybe? I don't know.
That's 5 years.
Andrew Garfield, man, that was a wolf in sheep's clothing. He could only play the nerd from high school so freaking well. Like, oh gosh, that's a completely different. I love that, you know. Let's
get back on track with Spider-Man Homecoming.
All right. So, long story short, you know, about this one particular area, having Liz be a temporary, you know, introduction. You know, Aunt May joked about it, but Peter really is going through puberty and adolescence. You know, he's going through that phase as a superhero. You know, it's a very unique angle that we don't get to see. And that we haven't explored in the different Spider-Man films. No. And now we're finally being able to explore it. And being able to see it from, you know, the first person you have a crush on isn't going to be the love of your life. So, you know, except for those weird couples you hear about. But yeah, I'm talking about you. But I think that delaying the romantic tie into the second movie was a good choice. Yeah. I think that introducing her was great. I think, you know, that little smile at the end was great. Like, I didn't really care. Oh, wait, but I do. Sort of, you know, that sort of thing. I think it was really good. I think it was a really good choice.
Also,
I talked for too long. Go ahead.
No, completely fine. No, the thing that surprised me about that was how Vulture was connected to
boom
to Peter Parker. Neither of us was expecting that. Neither of us was expecting that.
What? Like, shiitake mushrooms, man.
I knew somehow he was going to be brought back in, but it was like, I had no clue what that was going to be. Honestly, I'm completely surprised how Vulture was played in this movie. Because I know very little about this stuff. The Transformers is where I excel at in nerdage. But I did play the Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions game, I think it is. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that game.
And it was... I think I'm talking about the right one. It was pretty good.
PS2?
No, I got it for Xbox. Xbox 360. But in it, I remember that was where I got introduced to the Vulture, and I think in the Spider-Man Noir section, and he was the killer of Uncle Ben in that universe.
Particular universe, okay.
Yeah, in that particular universe, it was like, oh crap, we haven't discussed the whole Uncle Ben Parker becoming Spider-Man aspect in this universe. So when I saw that in Vulture, I was like, are we going to have Parker bring up the whole Ben aspect of it for this film? And they did not, because we've heard this story. We've heard this story twice in the films within 15-ish years. 15, 16, whatever, 2001, 2002.
Too many times. In the animated films.
And we don't need, and everyone in the modern American pop culture knows the story. They don't need to reiterate it. This is just an assumed fact. This is just as much of an assumed fact as Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father at this point.
Yeah.
And I liked that about this movie. It didn't even bother with that because we know about it. The Civil War didn't even touch upon it. We're just like, 6 months ago. There's
Speaking of Civil War, the time, how the time is set up in this movie is really cool. You know, they flash back to the events of the first Avengers movie with the Chitauri, is that what it was? The Chitauri invasion of New York. And they really delve into Vulture as a character.
Yes.
And how we were talking earlier about how I personally don't, I think that Vulture's a bad guy. I just don't think that necessarily he's a bad person. And if we can delve into that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that, you compared him to Tony Stark a little, in the sense that he looks at all these, abilities to sell weapons, and he does it to make money. And for a basis, and I would agree. And then you go and look at why. Tony and before he realized what the bearded dude, I can't remember his name. Gosh dang it. Yeah, before he realized,
I can't even remember his actor's name.
I know, right?
I should know it.
I know, it's terrible. He's such a great actor.
Edit the name of the guy works out at the bottom of this video.
Name here.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, future me. But but he was kind of behind the shadows, puppeting Tony and whatnot.
Yeah.
As soon as Tony realized he wasn't making missiles, he stopped. Yeah. But before then, he knew he was selling missiles. He knew he was selling weapons, and he knew what the weapons were doing, even if he didn't want to open his eyes to it. The Vulture is doing it not to go sleep with women and not for fancy cars, and now is that he's doing it for Liz. He's doing it for his family. For his wife, he's been doing that from the beginning.
Yeah,
and we talk. He killed someone. He killed the previous Shocker.
Yeah,
and
granted on accident, but he did not have a whole lot of remorse.
But there's his family, there's his business, and there's himself.
Yes,
and I feel like those are in the latter, family, business, self. And that guy was threatening all three while being within part of his family, if you will, and business.
Yeah.
And in front of him, if we're talking about Vulture's supposed ethics system, the dice roll is rather rigged there for Shocker.
Let's put a little context into this, since why this conversation sprung up.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I'm like it still works. The part of the movie I'm not the most pleased about was the end of the final fight between Spider-Man and Vulture, with Vulture having Spider-Man in his claws, his talons, whatever, and has been threatened to kill him before he went into the dance, and drops it to get the loot, whatever loot he is able to salvage from the thing. In my mind, my initial reaction was like, you've been trying to kill him for a little bit. You dropped a parking garage on his head. He still survived that. He just blew down the plane. He just took out a significant portion. There was a comment about one box will set them for life, but there was obviously a lot more they could have gotten out of that and just ruined all of that. And he just drops Spider-Man, leaves him for another day, and then goes and takes the loot before his suit blows up. In my mind, my thought is like, what would have been good is like, I kill you, or take my loot. You've been a thorn in my side. I'm going to take care of you. Then I'm going to take the loot, and then the suit starts to overload, pulls back, blows up. Spider-Man still pulls him out of the fire. And
having him to make a choice between the weapons or killing Peter, and him choosing the weapons. Yeah.
Or something along those lines, or he just goes for the kill without that moral dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
I think my main reasoning for that may be more so that is just a tired trope that I was annoyed to see in this movie, because
shiny things,
distracting me. Shiny things distracting me from killing the main character of this film,
and killing your $1 billion franchise. Oh no,
and this conversation about what the whole morality of the Vulture was. And while I was initially thinking of that, the first post-credits scene does suggest a bit more why he did not kill Spider-Man, since even though he is aware of who Peter Parker is, and has the opportunity to get rid of him, who Spider-Man is, and that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and has the opportunity to get rid of him, he keeps mum, meaning that somehow he finds him part of the family, even though Liz is moving to Oregon. And from what we're able to tell with the whole MJ thing, that relationship is probably going to not last.
Yeah, I doubt she's coming back.
I mean,
she did a great job.
Yeah, she did a great job.
But it's nothing to do with that.
No. But in terms of like how the story worked and how the relation, honestly, the relation was probably over when he walked out on her at the tents.
Yeah.
I
mean, man, as a quick side note, going back, when I read that, some people's complaints from before the movie was released was that too much was revealed in the trailers. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the weapons cache was being stolen, I don't think they necessarily need to reveal that. But there were a lot of surprises in this movie.
Yes.
And twists and turns, like the bombshell of Vulture being Liz's father, like that was to go crazy.
Yes.
There are a lot of twists and turns in this movie that weren't expected, even with all the information they gave. And some of the information they gave misleads you into believing things that actually aren't real, actually didn't happen.
Yeah.
One of which being Vulture is just this guy who's out for power. Mm-hmm. Circling back to the conversation about Vulture in that scene, where I might think a little differently on the subject is that if Vulture, the trope of like, the treasure, just leave the guy to throw the guy behind me, leave my back exposed for him to kill me, that stereotype or trope, you see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think that if Vulture was the Goblin, was even maybe Doc Ock, was the Shocker, I would agree. He wasn't. He was the Vulture. And I think that going back to why he killed the original Shocker, he threatened all three things. He threatened his family, he threatened his work, and he threatened Vulture, he threatened himself. Mm-hmm. Peter no longer posed a threat to to any of those three. He was defeated. He was done. And Vulture's number one thing, again, is his family. Peter Parker saved his daughter's life. And that is something that he talked about in the car.
Yeah.
I think that it meant more to him than he let on to Peter. I think, he said, there's nothing I can, and I'll talk about the garage in a second.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I can do that can repay you, that can, do any, but stay the hell away. Yeah. And I feel like it was a little more than that. I feel like if he could choose not to kill Peter Parker, he would choose not to kill Peter Parker. In the parking garage, Peter was directly in the way of him achieving something for his family, for his business, and for himself. And as soon as Peter was removed from that, when he was disabled after the plane crash, he no longer needed to kill him. Mm-hmm. Speaking to the parking garage, I think the parking garage was like how the first Shocker was killed. Mm-hmm. I think that he meant it as a distraction. I don't think that he meant to kill Spider-Man. I don't think he meant, it's like, what are you talking about? He dropped a building on his head. Of course he was trying to kill him. I think that with all of Spider-Man and what he could do, I think that he definitely caught Peter more off guard than he was thinking, than the audience was thinking, than certainly more than Peter was thinking. Yeah. I think that was another instance of him not realizing. He talks about how that Peter didn't know what the alien technology was capable of when the ship blew up in half.
Yeah,
I don't think Vulture did either, and I think that was.
Vulture's been working with the tech for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
yet he accidentally kills Shocker.
He has a better idea of like how the base of the technology works. He didn't know specifically what that specific weapon did. Because he was purely confused because he thought it was the anti-gravity gun.
I'm saying more on a metaphorical level than a step-by-step logical, if that makes sense, that he doesn't have control over the technology either. Mm-hmm. Shocker, the parking garage, when his suit explodes, that he doesn't have control over that, even though he believes that he does.
He had control over the parking garage. Because
he did. He knew that it was going to fall on Peter. I would.
But going back to your whole distraction thing, you do remind me that he did say that he wasn't trying to intentionally hit Peter at any point. He was never intentionally trying to ram the Vulture suit into him at any point. He was just trying to ram the pillars down so the building would fall and kill him. Okay, just distract him. Okay.
Yeah. But
it didn't necessarily matter what.
He wouldn't cry at night if Peter died.
No. But from what you're talking about with that morality he's got with the morality you're talking about, that does make a lot more sense because it's just like as long as he stays out of my way until this heist is over, we're good. If all of now the question is, the technology was salvageable from the wreck of the airplane. If the technology was completely unsalvageable, how do you think that would change that ending?
If the airplane exploded or what?
Like, none of the technology was salvageable. The entire mission was a bust. His family business is all gone because he cannot get any more technology.
Well, I think that he saw Peter again with the ladder. He's probably annoyed as all heck with me talking about this ladder of ethics that we can't really understand. Peter was at the top of his goal because all those three things no longer had any sort of positive or negative attribution to them. Yeah. The weapons were gone, but his family wasn't going to be harmed. He wasn't going to be harmed. But here's this person who could harm him in the future. Yeah. And as soon as he saw the weapons, that changed. Yeah. I don't know. I think he might have killed him. Yeah. I think that he might have killed him if he didn't see the weapons. I don't know though. It's a very interesting point you bring up.
Because going on the logic the assumptions we're making on his ethics character, on his ethics and his character, that would likely be the end result because he wanted to kill him the previous times because the operations were busts and their ability to provide the requests that from the people that bought their equipment was running low. If they succeeded in this, they were good. They got what they were going to get what they needed, so they were good. So Spider-Man was not an issue, unless he came back to bust into the place, and then it's like, well, okay, I got to kill this guy.
Yeah,
but yeah, you see. One thing I'm glad about this over the Transformer the last night is we get to talk about. Hold on, phone's dying. We get to.
You're welcome.
The difference with this that I'm liking better than the last night is we get to talk about the finer details of the characters and their morality and the better aspects as opposed to.
Can I say what I said again?
Yeah.
We had to cut stuff out because I talked about stuff we're not supposed to talk about yet. So, oops, my bad. Yeah. Anyway, keeping going. Liz meant nothing. Like, She meant nothing but a plot device. Gosh, it was still like, whoa! Like, it was just like, it was really cool.
But let's talk about the guy that the movie's about, Spider-Man.
Yeah, we can talk about
Because we haven't talked about him yet.
Yeah.
Much. We haven't talked about him directly.
Man crush always Tom Holland. Oh my gosh. I have a friend from church who just loves him too, and it's just like all the pictures he posts, I'm like, yes, you got it, man. Like I said, how he found out he was Spider-Man is he saw it on like a Marvel.com posting, and then his brother like apparently looked at it and said like, oh, it's a hack, man. Like, and then he actually got a call from an agent like a while later, and just like, hey, you actually got the part. Yeah. It was just like freaking ridiculous. Can you imagine that as an actor?
No.
Like that.
I would love it to happen to me, but like I would.
JK, they're ditching Tom Holland. It's
SoundJack.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah, go ahead.
Like, I don't even know what to say. Spider-Man was just great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we already had him in Civil War. I mean, like, not a whole lot different from that. But that Spider-Man was so good. That was the best Spider-Man we've had in the films forever.
And talking about after this movie, in the sense of like best Spider-Man, I think it was said by it wasn't the director of Infinity War, I forget, that the amount that Spider-Man will be in Infinity War is about the same that he was in Civil War.
Yeah,
this is about the same, which isn't too bad. You know, they got a lot of characters to get through.
Yeah, and it makes sense because he's the young rookie that wants to stay and protect and be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, he might be a plot device. Cough, cough, Liz. You know, he might be. Who knows? But you never saw the other Spider-Mans, correct?
I saw the original trilogy, and did I see the first one of that? I definitely did not see the second Amazing Spider-Man. I think I might have seen the first Amazing Spider-Man, but it's been a while nonetheless.
Yeah.
But I know the gist of everything.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I think, are great actors.
Yeah.
I think that Tobey Maguire played a certain kind of Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Again, the Andrew Garfield had sort of more the spark, but less. Again, wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, you know, you can only put a 25-year-old Abercrombie and Fitch model in a nerdy teenage, you know, uniform for so long. You know, like what is that one meme? It's like, hello, fellow teenagers, or like, you know, just put that right here. I'm just gonna put that. Just so you know what I'm talking about. I just can't remember his name. What's amazing? What the original Spider-Man series was a very melodramatic, emotional kind of take, and it was this Spider-Man that didn't really reflect a lot of the universe reflected what was in the Spider-Man comics, but Peter Parker and Spider-Man didn't necessarily. Yeah. And with Andrew Garfield, it was, again, more of a spark, but it didn't really reflect Peter Parker very well. Tom Holland reflects him beautifully. If you're talking about some sort of, you know, like 50s, 60s Spider, I don't even know when Spider-Man was, like, we're like original comics, like, okay, like Andrew Garfield, maybe, you know, how they portrayed him as a 40s, 50s, 60s nerd, like, I've seen, like, the old comics is very different, but in more of a modern, like, since the 80s, I guess, Spider-Man, he's way more Tom Holland than he is, you know, anything. Yeah. Maybe a little taller, but, you know, I think that his personality, his drive, his spark, his wit, his humor, his athletic, you know, abilities. You know, that backflip that you saw, like, that was actually him doing a backflip. Like, he can do those.
Yeah, backflip.
No spider sense.
No.
No.
Well, he does have
some
like he doesn't have like a full on spider sense, but like he does still wear the suit because he still has heightened senses.
Yes, he has heightened.
That he needs the suit for, but like it's not full out. Oh, I'm gonna sense that I'm going to get punched now.
Yeah, like what is Spider-Man without a suit? I mean,
The strong kid.
Captain America
That can climb walls.
Really? Well, I mean, he couldn't really... Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
He could kind of climb walls without... But he doesn't... He needs the web shooter to shoot webs.
Yes, he needs the web... But that's still his thing. He at least invented that. But the rest of the suit, the carrion and the different types of webs and the insta-kill mode that he never wanted to use, the wingsuit, the parachutes, all of that. That was the extra suit.
Yeah. I don't remember the parachute from the comics. I definitely remember a wingsuitish thing from newer Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, there was the parachute because of... Oh, you're just talking about the comics, not the movie itself. Yeah. Okay. I apologize. I was talking about the aspects of the suit from the movie. Well, there was a lot of cool things with that suit.
In relation to Civil War, I think it's cool. Because a lot of this arc that we're seeing in phase... What is this, 2? Is this still phase 2?
I think.
Or is this phase 3?
I thought we were in 3.
3. Okay, phase...
Yeah, we're in phase 3, and then the new Spider-Man is going to be the start of phase 4.
Phase 4, yeah.
Next Spider-Man.
Yeah. This phase 3, end of phase 2 and phase 3 represents is a very, very vague representation of Civil War.
Yeah.
And is a beautiful comic of Captain America versus Iron Man and, the Avengers torn apart, and much more than the Avengers. Like, much, much more. Like, the X-Men are involved, Fantastic Four, everyone's involved.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's the Avengers split down the middle, and Tony Stark oversees Spider-Man in the Avengers. Here's what I think is really cool. In Civil War, Peter Parker is, again, like in the movie, kind of blindly led by Tony Stark. When he's fighting Captain America, you remember in Civil War, Cap even asks him, like, why are you here, more or less? And he said, Tony Stark says you're a bad guy and you think you're right, but you're wrong, and that makes you dangerous. Like, that's all he knows. And in the Civil War, he didn't know what he was getting into when he revealed himself to the world as Spider-Man. What I find is cool is at the very end of this movie, he has the choice of whether or not to go. And I don't think he was going to reveal himself, but to show the world Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Like, this is a test, right? And then they go off. And
there are no actual reporters, and I was like, oh, there were actually 50 reporters. He actually made a mature decision. We were both completely taken aback by this.
Yeah. But I think it's its own.
And then the wedding ring he was holding since 2008.
2000.
Happy was carrying that wedding ring since 2008 just to propose.
That was good. Good.
But the whole thing with the whole Civil War is there actually another good point, because this is the first movie in the cinematic universe we actually get to see anything going on, any repercussions that happened since Civil War. Because the only other movies between Civil War and now were Doctor Strange, which was its completely own thing. It's in the same world, but
which happened before Captain America 2. Actually.
Oh, it did. Because of the post-credit scene, because of that.
Well, post-credit scene, also there's the one of the Hydra SHIELD agents mentions, all these dangerous people, and he mentions Stephen Strange. So obviously SHIELD is aware of him, and they wouldn't be aware of him until before he gets his powers.
Ah, okay. So I just assumed because he was an excellent doctor with the medical skills. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Someone tell us in the comments where the actual timeline for that is.
They released one earlier.
They did?
Yeah, they I think Marvel did, or some people within Marvel did.
And that's actually
I don't know where exactly it lies, but I can't imagine that it's after Captain America 2.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
But he was a great doctor, but he wasn't,
anyway,
superhero doctor.
Anyway, well, besides that, there is also Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which was completely set off-world. And again, since Civil War, we don't entirely know what the state of the world is afterwards. Well, you learn the Avengers is still a thing. Tony Stark is truly taking the taking the reins on it and is heading it. Vision's still around. Captain America, his PSAs are still played in gym classes and detention halls.
Post-credit scene number 2. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely stay around for the post-credits.
There's so many middle fingers going on in the. Oh my gosh.
We don't want to spoil them on that.
If they're watching this, they should not have watched the movie.
Fair. It's on you if you have.
It's on you.
It's on you if you've ruined yourself from seeing the best post-credit scene ever.
Yeah, it's your fault.
But
turn off the video. I don't care. It's not my channel.
Fair. But anyway, the gym teacher said, "Well, I'm pretty sure he's a war criminal now, but whatever."
That was. Excuse me. That was.
And like we don't get like, and the FBI are willing to shoot up Spider-Man when they're on the ferry. Mm-hmm. They're willing to like point guns at him and be like, "Don't move." And also when like the police, the SWAT team, when he was climbing the Washington Monument, and they were like, "Don't go to the ground or we're going to shoot," which is could be a reasonable response for like, there's this guy I don't know that's on the monument and the monument's collapsing. And then, but there's also the fact like Soviet Accords, this whole thing with the Avengers has been going on. So obviously the vigilantes are not necessarily discredited.
I don't think Peter Parker's on the Sokovia Accords.
That's fair.
I don't think so. Which I think the whole idea is that he's trying to keep him down underneath, and that whole announcement at the end was him bringing him into the world. Go ahead.
Did the Sokovia Accords have to specifically list the individuals that were affected by the Accords, or was it just to superpowered individuals in general? Because if it was superpowered individuals in general, it would in fact apply to Spider-Man because he's
Here's what I believe. Okay, so this is where the Sokovia Accords.
I apologize if we're making any nerd screams that we don't know all of these details before we went to talk about this.
Yeah, being pretentious nerd jerks. This is again the end of Phase 2 to all of Phase 3. The reference to Civil War is the Sokovia Accords were like the Superhuman Registration Act.
Yeah. Within
Civil War, and. So what the parameters were in Superhero Registration Act and what those parameters are in Sokovia Accords are, a little different, I think. But generally speaking, if there is someone who is operating outside of the law, then they are in illegal activity. If someone was previously doing that, they need to be now signed on to the Sokovia Accords so what they're doing can be legalized. Mm-hmm. So I feel that what Spider-Man is doing goes against the Sokovia Accords. I feel no matter what, cut and dry. There's this gray area. According to the law, cut and dry. If he's not signed on to the Sokovia Accords and he's doing all this criminal stuff, which I know he's stopping criminals, but still. I think according to the Accords, it's criminal. So I feel like they were shooting him for a reason. Oh, there's this giant, there's this guy dressed up in webs on the Washington Monument after it's exploded. Like, I'm surprised they didn't shoot him earlier. Yeah. Maybe they did recognize him. Maybe they didn't. They had no reason to believe it was the actual one.
That's also very funny because people should be somewhat aware of him, probably not like ultimately familiar, but
he's not even half meme status at this point, and yet after this plane crash he might
people would recognize him because there are videos that find on YouTube. People did recognize him as like, hey, you're Spider-Man, can you do a backflip?
Yeah,
but like DC area people are just like, oh, what's that guy?
Well, keep this in mind too, that In previous Spider-Man movies, and this is what I love about it, is when they saw Spider-Man, they're like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. This isn't the craziest thing New York's seen. There were freaking aliens raining in from the sky, giant, like worm-like monsters tearing through their skyscrapers. And this guy who's swinging around on the web, man, that's like yesterday's news. That's nothing. So I think it speaks to the fact that he didn't go like, he actually said, hey, that Spider Dude, can you do a backflip? Like, he asked Spider-Man to do a backflip for him. It's so normal.
Though Ned still reacted like it was the craziest thing.
Well,
ever.
that's because his best friend is Spider-Man.
Admittedly, that's completely true.
Yeah.
Completely true. But
my best friend was Spider. I don't care how many Spider-Man.
Peter Parker knows Spider-Man. What?
Gosh. Then he works for the newspaper.
Yeah.
They didn't even throw in that he works for the school newspaper, which I like. It was just like separation. Like the only thing similar to that in the old movies was.
I'm surprised. Yeah,
Aunt May.
I'm surprised they didn't even like say like, oh, Spider-Man, like Peter Parker had to drop all of these different things, and he had to drop the newspaper. Like he dropped band, he dropped whatever else, and then he had to drop the decathlon.
The decathlon is it's a different.
And they didn't even mention the newspaper thing because that's just not how Peter Parker rolls. Because Peter Parker is a modern kid. He's a tech savvy kid. The news is, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that characters like the all the newspaper characters. Did you want to finish your thought? Did you have a thought?
No, I was just kind of rambling.
Yeah, no, I please do. It's the guy who's the head of the newspaper. What's his name again? It's late.
For Superman?
No.
No, that is Peter Parker's. The J. Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson, I believe.
Thank you. I'll forgive you for that Superman comment.
I apologize.
No.
They're so look. They both work for newspapers. They both begin with S and end with man.
I'm like, they made another. What DC travesty has been made now? No, I'm not a DC hater. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is 100 times better.
I'm gonna get
Wonder Woman kicked butt.
I'm gonna get so flogged in the comments section for that whole thinking J. Jonah Jameson was
Man,
Superman.
If you can get flogged in the comment section, you've made it on YouTube. Don't worry about it. It's a good thing.
Okay.
So, talking about Jameson and MJ and Flash, they didn't bring in Jameson, which is fine. But the integration of these certain characters, I thought, were a lot better. I thought that having Flash be, there was a lot of diversity in this movie.
Yes.
But the way that Flash was is all the other times they like represented a bully to Spider-Man and in other superhero movies, it's like so 1950s and 60s. This guy with a football jacket walks in with the two girls around his arm, pushes the guy. The guy's like, no, I have superpowers. Oh no, I can't use them against you, so I need to suffer through public humiliation. In this case, he was a modern day bully. He, did the penis Parker chant.
Yeah.
He did,
the
slap on the ass. He did, the revving by with a car. Like, I've gone through experiences like that. I'm sure you have too. And they're very modern. And it was very modern take on a lot of these different characters and their interactions. That's what a major complaint about Tobey Maguire's movies is. It's just like these interactions are so fake. They're like what the 1980s or 70s would believe that human interactions would be. Yeah. And it was so much more real.
Yes.
And that's what makes what you were talking about Vulture in Peter Parker, and in the very end, or rather Spider-Man more specifically, and him not killing him was such a counter to how well this movie did human interaction. Tony's impulsive decision to take the suit away. Peter Parker's immature. Peter had a reason for being immature and making stupid decisions because he's 15, as opposed to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, which are 30. There were a lot of real human interactions. That's what made that one.
Even Karen was real.
Karen was good.
And Karen was an AI.
I'm surprised they didn't use. I need to go back and maybe we can like put a little like picture here or something of in Age of Ultron when Jarvis turns into Vision.
Yeah.
There's a collection of memory drives of AIs. I need to see whether or not because I know Friday was on there, whether or not another person was on there. But the thing is that he named her Karen.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any sort of relation to the comics with that, but
yeah, that'd be interesting.
it was just like, you can call me Karen if you want. It was just like, all right, cool, your name's Karen. It's just, so I don't know, man. I would agree that all the different human interactions, even down to the AIs, were real.
Yeah.
And they did a great job at that. Tom Holland did an amazing job at that. We have to wait forever for the next one. Oh my god. It's killing me, literally. But I'm going to be excited to see him in Civil War, definitely.
You mean Infinity War?
Like Captain America socks. Yeah, that.
Yeah, Civil War happened. We gotta go back in time if we want to see the premiere for that.
Yeah, no.
Get our DeLorean out.
Get a DeLorean out. I got a D. It starts with the same letter. Yeah. Gosh. All right. So we went through a lot of the different plot.
Yeah.
Do you have any overall comments?
Really good. I don't know necessarily where it ranks, but it's up there.
In all the Spider-Man movies, or in all the superhero movies?
No, all Marvel.
All of Marvel, okay.
Spider-Man movies, clearly the top. No question.
Okay.
There's just so many good Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that I don't know where to rank it fully. I'd probably have to process that a little bit. But certainly, hopefully, towards the top there. Certainly better than, like, Dark World, to me. I'm sorry if you like Thor Dark World. It wasn't a bad movie. It was
A confusing plot.
Great characterization, great uses of plot. A lot of things Tony Stark did were really good in this movie for Tony Stark. Ned was great. Peter was amazing. Liz was fun. The end, that relationship interaction was good. I didn't feel it was forced at all. It was wonderful. Vulture. Vulture was really
Michael
good.
Keaton, that's his name.
Yes. A lot of really good things about this movie. That's my view. Don't know.
Mm-hmm.
2 thumbs up at the very least. I don't know where it be in stars, but definitely 2 thumbs up.
I think that this movie brings, DC had its one success, which it really is a one success since the second Dark Knight movie in the trilogy, one with Wonder Woman. And I feel like this gives, this was an opportunity for DC to jump ahead. In a lot of ways they did. Wonder Woman was amazing. But they can't, one movie can't define an entire series. Mm-hmm. And they, it's one of those things. I saw a comment that said, like, all these critics criticizing Wonder Woman, but the female director and lead are carrying the entire DC movie universe.
Yeah.
But the great thing about Spider-Man is that they had a lot of different things help it be a great movie, and a lot of different aspects of the universe. 8 years. Avengers came out 8 years ago, and yet it worked from as far as we know. Yeah. We know it came out like 8 years ago, but like in terms of the storyline of the movie.
Yeah.
And all of that build up to this moment, the fact that it went that far back into this moment was such an incredible build and addition to the Marvel Universe. It stands great on its own, but it also stands great with everything else that's been great up until this point. And I also think what makes it a great standalone in incorporation with all the other movies is that it brings the Sony fans in, so that it's integration into the Marvel Universe. All right, I saw Spider-Man, a little bit of him in Civil War. Now he's got to get his own movie. Now he's going to show up again in Infinity War. It's bringing in an entire sector of fans back into the universe. Having a movie that is able to stand on its own and yet be able to propel a series forward while bringing back fans that had been lost is an incredible achievement. And I think that this movie surpassed all expectations. And like all the great, another Spider-Man movie, but even the expectations of it's going to be okay. There's a reason it's got 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, as far as I checked. 93 out of 100 critics gave their thumbs up. That's incredible. This is a movie that was able to take all of the stereotypes, throw them out the window, be able to carry the Marvel Universe forward, be able to integrate characters of the past, and yet be able to have its own true movie. If you watch this movie by itself, you would be okay. You want to get as much from it, which is the great thing.
Yeah.
But you would be okay.
Yeah.
And still have a great experience.
Yes. Because what it takes from the other films, it explains it for you well enough. Mm-hmm. Other things could be better explained if you had other films' context. Like the Captain America war criminal joke may be lost if you had never seen anything else. But it's basically kind of a throwaway line.
Oh, he was in a fight. Tony, got him for this one thing, and now he's
But honestly,
just
you do also... Well, no, I'm wrong. You do get context because we see the fight happen because of Peter Parker's home film.
Yep.
So never mind. Yeah. There's still proper context.
There's still a lot of context, but
there's still enough context to get you through for whatever.
Time you guys big now. Outside. I gotta go. Bye.
Yep. Also, can't wait to. Any other comments?
Yeah. If you watch this just to catch up on it and say okay. Still go see it.
Yes.
It's still incredible cast, an incredible thing, and the diversity within the cast is amazing. The acting with it is fantastic. It's a great all around film, and if you're a Marvel fan, Sony fan, DC, go have a good time with it. And if you need to see anything before this movie, see Civil War. That's all you need is Civil War. And if you want to jump into the Marvel Universe, all you need to do is right now, maybe Captain America 2, but really all you need is Civil War. And then go forward. Even Thor 3, you don't need to see the first two. Yeah. I'm out.
Great movie.
Can't wait to see how... Peace out, Girl Scout.
Can't wait to see how Aunt May reacts in the next film.